A barefoot child with torn clothes stands in a marble palace in Dubai. His small hands tremble as he approaches the dying infant. 20 medical specialists have failed. The desperate father watches through tears. The boy closes his eyes, sniffs the air like a wild animal, then points to a corner of the nursery. That dark shadow is stealing your daughter's life. Everyone freezes. What did this homeless child see that 20 elite doctors missed before we uncover this miracle? Hit that subscribe button right now. Smash the like button and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Now, let's dive into this incredible true story. Have you ever had everything and realized it means nothing? Ahmad Al-Rashid owned half of Dubai Marina. His name was on buildings that pierced the clouds. His penthouse had windows overlooking the Persian Gulf, where the sunset painted the water gold every evening. He had 3 yachts, 5 luxury cars, a private jet with leather seats softer than silk. When he walked into a room, people stood up. When he spoke, everyone listened. But right now, in this moment, Ahmad Al-Rashid would trade it all. Every dirham, every property, every single thing he owned, for one sound. The sound of his baby daughter laughing. Instead, all he heard was crying. Endless, heartbreaking crying that never, ever stopped. Little Layla lay in her nursery, a room that cost more than most people earn in a lifetime. The walls were painted soft pink. A crystal chandelier hung from the ceiling, catching the light and scattering rainbows across imported Italian furniture. Toys from Paris lined the shelves. The carpet was so thick and soft, your feet disappeared into it. But none of it mattered. Layla's tiny body burned with fever. Her skin, once healthy and glowing, had turned pale like paper. Her little chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. She wouldn't eat. She wouldn't sleep. Day after day, week after week, she just cried and grew weaker. Ahmed's wife, Fatima, had stopped eating too. She sat beside Layla's crib hour after hour, rocking back and forth, whispering prayers. Her eyes were hollow from sleepless nights. Her beautiful face had become thin and worn. The servants whispered with worry. They had never seen their mistress like this. "Please, my precious girl," Fatima would whisper, tears streaming down her face. "Please get better. Please." But Layla just cried. That terrible, weak cry that tore through every parent's heart. Ahmad tried everything. He flew in the best pediatrician from Switzerland, a woman who had treated royal families across Europe. She ran tests for a week, drew blood, used machines that beeped and flashed with lights. At the end, she shook her head. "I'm sorry, Mr. Al-Rashid. I cannot find the cause." A specialist from Germany came next. Then a team from Singapore. Then doctors from Johns Hopkins in America. They came with their degrees from famous universities, their confident smiles, their expensive equipment. One by one, they all failed. Ahmad kept count. 5 specialists. 10. 15. 20. 20 of the world's best doctors, and not one could save his daughter. He had spent 15 million dirhams, $4 million US. That money could buy mansions, could change lives, could do anything. But it couldn't heal his baby girl. One afternoon, Ahmad sat alone in his office on the 63rd floor of Burj Khalifa. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Dubai stretched out below him like a kingdom. His empire of glass and steel and money. And he put his head down on his desk and wept like a child. His assistant heard him through the door. His secretary heard him. But no one dared enter. What do you say to a man who has everything except the one thing that matters? That evening, Ahmed's driver, Hassan, was taking him home through the city traffic. They were stuck on Sheikh Zayed Road near the Sonepur area, where the construction workers lived. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple. Ahmad stared out the tinted window, seeing nothing, drowning in his grief. Then something caught his eye. Under an overpass, in a patch of dirt and rubble, a small boy sat on the ground. He couldn't have been more than 11 years old. His clothes were torn and faded, covered in dust. His feet were bare and calloused. His hair was uncombed and wild. A street child. Ahmad had seen thousands of them. Usually he looked away. But this boy wasn't begging. He wasn't sleeping in the shade. He was doing something strange. The boy was grinding green leaves and brown roots together in a cracked plastic bowl. Next to him sat a construction worker. A man with a badly infected hand, swollen and red, clearly painful. The worker's face was twisted in agony. Ahmad watched as the boy carefully applied his green paste to the infection. He spoke gently to the worker, the way a real doctor speaks to a patient. Calm, confident, kind. And then something incredible happened. The worker's face relaxed. The pain seemed to ease. He flexed his fingers slowly. The swelling looked less. Within minutes, the worker was smiling. He reached out with his good hand and touched the boy's head in thanks, his eyes wet with gratitude. Ahmed's heart began to pound. "Hassan," he said suddenly. "Stop the car." "Sir?" His driver looked confused. "Stop. Now." Hassan pulled over. Ahmad stepped out into the Dubai heat. People on the sidewalk stared. Why was this man in a $5,000 suit getting out of a Bentley on a dusty side street? Ahmad walked toward the boy. Up close, he could see how thin the child was. His ribs showed through his torn shirt. But his eyes were bright and alert and strangely wise for someone so young. "Hello," Ahmad said softly, kneeling down to the boy's level. The boy looked up without fear. "Good evening, sir. What's your name?" "Yusuf, sir." "Yusuf, what are you doing? What is this medicine?" The boy smiled a shy, gentle smile. "I'm helping this uncle, sir. His hand was infected, so I made medicine from plants. Neem leaves for the infection, turmeric root for the swelling, aloe for the healing. Where did you learn this?" The smile faded from Yusuf's face. His eyes grew distant. "My grandmother taught me, sir. Before she died. She was a healer in our village in Syria, before the war." Ahmed's throat tightened. "Where are your parents, Yusuf?" The boy looked down at his bare feet. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but steady. "My father was killed when our house was bombed. My mother died trying to protect me. My grandmother brought me here to Dubai, hoping for a better life. But she got sick last year. The fever took her." He paused. "I live under this bridge now. But I still remember everything she taught me about healing." Ahmad felt something crack open in his chest. Here was a child who had lost everything: home, family, country. A child who slept on concrete, who went hungry, who had every reason to be angry at the world. And yet he sat here, using what little he knew to help others. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was divine inspiration. Maybe it was the look in this child's ancient eyes. But Ahmad made a decision that would change everything. "Yusuf," Ahmad's voice trembled. "I have a baby daughter. Her name is Layla. She's dying. 20 doctors, the best doctors in the world, have tried to save her. They all failed." Tears filled Ahmad's eyes. Will you try to help her? Please." Yusuf looked at Ahmad's expensive suit, his polished shoes, the Bentley waiting behind him. Then he looked at his own dirty hands and torn clothes. "Sir, I'm just a street boy. Those doctors know things I could never learn. But you know things they don't," Ahmad said. "Please, I'm begging you. Just look at her. What do I have to lose?" The boy was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Okay, sir. I will try." And with that simple yes, with that act of pure kindness from a child who had nothing to gain, the story truly began. When Ahmad's Bentley pulled through the golden gates of his Palm Jumeirah mansion, the security guards' eyes nearly popped out of their heads. Their boss was bringing home a street child. Yusuf stepped out of the car slowly, his bare feet touching the smooth marble driveway. He had never seen anything like this. The house was like a palace from the stories his grandmother used to tell. Fountains danced in the courtyard. Palm trees swayed in the evening breeze. Through the massive glass doors, he could see chandeliers sparkling like captured stars. But Yusuf didn't stare at the wealth. His mind was focused on one thing: the sick baby who needed his help. Fatima was waiting in the entrance hall when they arrived. When she saw Yusuf, dirty, torn clothes, uncombed hair, bare feet, she gasped. "Ahmad, what is this? Why have you brought a street child into our home?" Her voice was sharp with shock, maybe even fear. Ahmad took his wife's hands gently. "Fatima, my love, we have tried everything. 20 specialists. Millions of dirhams. Nothing has worked. This boy, I saw him heal a man's infection with plants in minutes. Please, what do we have to lose?" Fatima looked at her husband's desperate, pleading eyes. Then she looked toward the nursery where Layla's weak cries floated through the air like a knife to her heart. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath. "Okay," she whispered. "Let him try." The house staff, the maids, the cook, the gardener, all gathered in whispered clusters, watching with doubt written across their faces. Some shook their heads. A street child treating their master's daughter? It was madness. But Ahmad didn't care what they thought anymore. First, they took care of Yusuf. The head housekeeper, Amira, gently led the boy to a bathroom bigger than any room he'd ever slept in. She ran warm water in a tub that could fit 3 people. She gave him soap that smelled like jasmine and honey. Yusuf bathed carefully, washing away weeks of street dust and grime. It was his first real bath in so long he'd forgotten what it felt like to be clean. Then Amira brought him fresh clothes, a simple white shirt and dark trousers that actually fit. She combed his hair gently, carefully working through the tangles. When she was done, she looked at him and smiled softly. Under all that dirt had been a beautiful child. In the kitchen, the cook prepared a plate of food. Spiced chicken, fragrant rice with saffron, fresh bread still warm from the oven, creamy hummus, sweet dates. When they set the plate in front of Yusuf, he just stared at it. "Eat, child," Amira said kindly. "You must be hungry." Yusuf picked up a piece of chicken. He took a bite. The flavors exploded in his mouth. He hadn't tasted anything this good since his grandmother's cooking, years ago in Syria. And then, right there at the kitchen table, Yusuf began to cry. Not loud sobs, just quiet tears rolling down his cheeks as he ate. Tears for his grandmother. Tears for his lost family. Tears for all the nights he'd gone to sleep with an empty stomach, curled up under that bridge, wondering if anyone in the world cared whether he lived or died. Amira's own eyes filled with tears. She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "It's okay, little one. You're safe now. Eat." After the meal, it was time. Ahmad and Fatima led Yusuf to the nursery. The room was magnificent. A hand-carved crib from Italy. Plush toys imported from France. Walls painted with soft clouds and flying birds. The air conditioning hummed quietly, keeping the room perfectly cool. But all Yusuf saw was the tiny baby lying in that expensive crib. Layla was so small, so pale. Her breathing was shallow and quick. Her little fists were clenched. Weak cries came from her dry lips. Yusuf approached slowly, reverently. He placed his small hand on her forehead, just like his grandmother had taught him. Too hot, burning with fever. He gently opened her mouth and looked at her tongue. Gray and coated. Sign of poison in the body. He leaned close and smelled her breath. Something sour. Something wrong. Then he carefully pressed on her tiny stomach, feeling for swelling. Layla whimpered, but Yusuf's touch was gentle, practiced. Ahmad and Fatima watched, holding their breath. The house staff crowded at the doorway, silent and skeptical. Then Yusuf did something that made everyone gasp. He got down on his hands and knees and started sniffing the air, like a dog tracking a scent. "What is he doing?" one of the maids whispered. Yusuf crawled around the room, his nose close to the floor. He sniffed near the crib. He sniffed near the window. He sniffed along the walls. Fatima looked at Ahmad with panic rising in her eyes. Had they made a terrible mistake? But Yusuf kept moving, following some invisible trail only he could detect. His grandmother had taught him this. Sometimes the sickness isn't in the patient. Sometimes it's in the air they breathe, the water they drink, the place they sleep. He crawled to the corner where a massive wardrobe stood. An antique piece shipped from Italy, dark wood carved with angels and flowers. It had been there since before Layla was born, unmoved, beautiful. Yusuf stopped. His nose wrinkled. He sniffed deeply at the wall behind the wardrobe. "Here," he said quietly. "The poison is here." "What?" Ahmad rushed over. "Help me move this, sir. Please." Ahmad and Hassan, who had followed them inside, grabbed the heavy wardrobe. They pulled it away from the wall, inch by inch. And there, hidden in the space behind, everyone saw it. Black mold, spreading across the white wall like dark fingers reaching out. It covered nearly 2 square meters of surface, a toxic shadow that had been growing unseen for months. The smell hit them, musty, rotten, like old wet clothes left in a closed room. Fatima's hand flew to her mouth. "Oh my God! There was a leak," Ahmad suddenly remembered, his voice hollow. 3 months ago. A small water leak in this wall. The plumber fixed it, but we never checked. We never looked behind the furniture to see if. "This bad mold makes poison," Yusuf explained, his young voice carrying an old wisdom. "It goes into the air as tiny, tiny pieces you cannot see. Baby Layla breathes it every day, every night, every moment she is in this room. It goes into her lungs, into her blood, into her whole body. That is why she is sick. That is why she cannot get better." The room fell silent except for Layla's weak crying. All those doctors, all those tests, all those machines and blood samples and specialists from around the world. And not one of them had checked the walls. They had examined the baby, but they had never examined where the baby lived. "We must move her," Yusuf said urgently. "Right now. Away from this poison." Fatima didn't hesitate. She scooped Layla up from the crib, blankets and all, and rushed to another bedroom on the opposite side of the mansion, as far from the mold as possible. Yusuf ran outside to the garden. Ahmed's property had every kind of plant and tree, purely for decoration, but now they would serve a greater purpose. Yusuf moved through the garden like he could see invisible signs. He picked neem leaves, the ones with the slightly bitter smell. He gathered blackseed flowers. He carefully stripped bark from the eucalyptus tree. He found wild mint growing near the fountain. He collected aloe vera, turmeric root, and other plants that the gardener had planted, but whose healing properties no one knew. Back in the kitchen, he asked for a pot and water. The cook watched in amazement as this child worked with the confidence of a master healer. Yusuf boiled the water and added his plants in a specific order: roots first, then bark, then leaves, then flowers. The water turned deep green, then brown, then almost black. A strong, earthy smell filled the kitchen. He let it simmer for exactly 20 minutes, not more, not less. His grandmother's voice echoed in his memory. Timing is everything, Yusuf. Too short, the medicine is weak. Too long, it becomes poison. Finally, he strained the liquid into a clean glass. It looked dark and mysterious. Fatima watched anxiously as Yusuf approached with a small spoon. This will heal her? The poison from the mold is inside her body now, madam, Yusuf explained gently. In her chest, in her blood, in her organs. This medicine will help push the poison out. It will make her body strong enough to fight. But it will take time. How long? Maybe 3 days. Maybe 4. We must give her this medicine 3 times every day, morning, afternoon, and night. And we must change her room completely. New walls. New paint. Fresh air always flowing. Yusuf gave baby Layla just a few drops on her tongue. She made a face. It didn't taste sweet, but she swallowed. He also crushed some of the healing leaves into a thick paste. He gently rubbed this paste on Layla's chest and back, right over her heart and lungs. Ahmad knelt beside them. Will you stay here, Yusuf? Until she's better? Please. Yusuf looked around at the marble floors, the crystal lights, the soft furniture. Then he looked at baby Layla, so tiny and helpless. Yes, sir. I will stay. I will not leave until she is healed. That night, Yusuf slept in a real bed for the first time in over a year. Soft pillows. Clean sheets. A blanket that didn't smell like the street. But before he slept, he knelt beside his bed the way his grandmother had taught him, and he prayed, not for himself, but for the little baby down the hall. Please, he whispered to God, let this work. Let the medicine heal her. This family has been so kind to me. Please, let me help them. Outside his window, Dubai glittered like a city of stars. But inside this mansion, everyone was holding their breath, waiting to see if a street child's ancient wisdom could do what modern medicine could not. Could simple plants from the earth heal what millions of dirhams could not buy? They would know in 3 days. Day 1. The entire household woke early, everyone on edge, everyone watching. At exactly 7 in the morning, Yusuf prepared Layla's medicine, boiling the plants fresh, just as his grandmother had taught him. He gave the baby 3 small drops on her tongue. She whimpered but swallowed. He changed the healing paste on her chest, his small hands working with careful precision. Hours passed. Nothing changed. Layla still lay weak and pale. Still cried those heartbreaking cries. Still wouldn't eat. By evening, Fatima's face had fallen. The light in her eyes was dimming again. Ahmad, she whispered. Maybe this won't work either. Maybe we were foolish to hope. But Yusuf overheard. He walked over to Fatima and looked up at her with those old, wise eyes. Please, madam, do not lose faith yet. The medicine is working inside, where you cannot see it. Like seeds planted in dark soil, they are growing underneath, getting ready to break through into the light. You cannot see them working, but they are. Trust the process. Something in his voice, so young yet so certain, made Fatima nod and keep hoping. Day 2. Morning medicine. Afternoon medicine. Evening medicine. Yusuf never missed a dose. He stayed by Layla's side like a devoted brother, talking to her softly, telling her stories his grandmother used to tell him about brave children and healing plants and how the earth loves us and wants us to be well. Then, in the afternoon, something small happened. Layla opened her eyes. Not just a flutter. She opened them wide, really wide, for the first time in weeks. Her dark brown eyes looked around the new room. She saw the sunlight streaming through the window. She saw her mother's face hovering above her. She saw Yusuf. Ahmad! Fatima screamed. Ahmad, come quick. She's looking at me. Really looking. Ahmad came running from his study. He rushed to the bedside and saw his daughter staring up at him clearly, recognizing him. Tears poured down his face. "Layla, my sweet Layla." But Yusuf remained calm. "This is very good. This means the poison is leaving her body. But we must continue. One more day of medicine. Do not stop now." That night, the household staff gathered in the kitchen after dinner. The doubt in their faces had changed to something else. Wonder. Hope. "That boy," the cook whispered. "Maybe he really does know something special." Day 3. Morning came with golden light pouring through the windows. Yusuf woke early and went to prepare Layla's medicine. But when he reached her room, he stopped in the doorway. He heard something he hadn't heard since he arrived at this mansion. Silence. Not the terrible crying. Not the weak whimpering. Just peaceful silence. His heart began to race. He rushed to the bed. Layla was lying there, eyes open, looking at a stuffed rabbit someone had placed beside her. And then, like sunshine breaking through storm clouds, she smiled. A real baby smile. Her whole face lit up. Her eyes sparkled. "Fatima," Yusuf called out. "Sir Ahmad, come quickly." They came running, still in their night clothes, thinking something was wrong. But when they reached the room, they found their daughter looking at them and laughing. A beautiful, gurgling baby laugh. Gia. Her tiny hands reached up toward her mother's face. Fatima screamed with pure joy. She scooped Layla up, and the baby felt different in her arms. Not burning hot. Not limp and weak. Warm and healthy and strong. The fever was gone. Completely gone. Layla's skin had color again. Healthy pink instead of deathly pale. Her eyes were bright and alert. And when Fatima held her close, Layla wrapped her little arms around her mother's neck and squeezed. Ahmad fell to his knees right there on the floor. He lifted his hands toward heaven, tears streaming down his face. "Thank you, Allah. Thank you, thank you, thank you." He could barely speak through his sobs of gratitude. The commotion brought everyone running. The maids, the cook, Hassan the driver, Amira the housekeeper, the gardener, the security guards. Everyone crowded into the doorway. When they saw baby Layla awake, laughing, reaching for her toys, they erupted in celebration. The cook started ululating, that high-pitched sound of joy. The maids were dancing. The gardener was laughing and crying at the same time. Even the serious security guards were grinning like children. Layla grabbed a rattle and shook it. The sound made her laugh even more. She brought it to her mouth and started chewing on it like any healthy baby would. She's hungry, Fatima realized. She wants to eat. They prepared her bottle, and Layla drank eagerly, gulp, 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 finishing the entire thing. She hadn't eaten properly in months, and now she was drinking like her life depended on it. Because it did. When she finished, she let out a satisfied burp that made everyone laugh. In all the celebration, Yusuf stood quietly in the corner, watching with a small smile on his face. His work was done. The baby was healed. Ahmad saw him there. This powerful billionaire walked across the room and knelt down in front of the street child who had saved his world. "Yusuf," Ahmad's voice shook with emotion. "You did what 20 specialists could not do. You saved my daughter. You gave me back my life." Tears poured down his face. "How can I ever repay you? Tell me. Anything you want. Money. I will give you more money than you can imagine. A house. I will buy you the finest villa in Dubai. Cars, gold, anything. Just name it." The room fell silent. Everyone waited to hear what the poor street boy would ask for. Yusuf looked at Ahmad. Then he looked around at the marble floors, the crystal chandeliers, the expensive furniture. He looked at baby Layla, now healthy and giggling in her mother's arms. And then he said something that no one expected. "Sir, I do not want money. I do not want a house or cars or gold." Ahmad blinked in confusion. "Then, what do you want?" Yusuf's young face became serious. "I want to learn. I want to go to school, a real school where I can read and write properly. I want to study medicine, sir. Not just the plant knowledge my grandmother gave me, but everything. I want to become a real doctor." His eyes shone with passion. "I want to help people, sir. Not just 1 or 2 on the street. I want to help hundreds. Thousands. I want to open clinics where poor people can come and be healed, whether they have money or not. That is my dream." The room was so quiet you could hear the fountain outside in the courtyard. Here stood a boy who had nothing. A boy who had slept under bridges, gone hungry, worn torn clothes, survived on scraps. A boy who could ask for wealth, for comfort, for an easy life. And all he wanted was the chance to help others. Ahmed's heart felt like it would burst. He stood up and pulled Yusuf into a fierce hug. "Then you will have it," he promised, his voice thick with tears. "You will go to the best school in all of Dubai. No, the best school in the world. You will live here in this house as my son. And when you finish school, I will send you to any university you choose. You will become the greatest doctor this city has ever seen. I promise you this on my daughter's life." Fatima came over, still holding Layla. "You saved our daughter. Now we will save your future. You are family now, Yusuf." "Our family." Yusuf couldn't speak. Emotions overwhelmed him: gratitude, joy, disbelief, hope. He just nodded and cried and smiled all at once. But Ahmad did even more than he promised. He hired scientists from the University of Dubai to study Yusuf's plant medicine. They discovered that his specific combination of herbs really did help remove mold toxins from the body. They developed it into a proper treatment that hospitals could use. Now, many people suffering from mold poisoning could be healed using Yusuf's grandmother's ancient wisdom. Ahmad went back to that overpass in Sonipur. He found the construction worker Yusuf had helped. He gave the man a better job with proper medical benefits. He built a free medical clinic right there in Sonipur, staffed with doctors who respected both modern medicine and traditional healing. News spread across Dubai. Newspapers ran the story: "Street child saves billionaire's baby, wisdom over wealth." Television channels wanted interviews. But Yusuf remained humble. He never forgot the bridge he'd slept under, the hunger he'd felt, the loneliness of having no one. 3 months later, everything had changed. Baby Layla was completely healthy, crawling around the mansion, laughing, playing, eating everything in sight. You would never know she had almost died. Yusuf wore a crisp school uniform now. Every morning, Hassan drove him to Dubai International Academy, the most prestigious school in the Emirates. Yusuf studied harder than anyone: mathematics, science, English, Arabic. He was top of his class. At night, he came home to the mansion. Home. It still felt like a dream. Fatima made sure he ate well. Layla played with him like he was her big brother. And Ahmad watched them together, the street child and the baby he'd saved, and marveled at how God works in mysterious ways. One evening, Ahmad and Yusuf sat on the terrace overlooking the Persian Gulf. The sun was setting, painting the water in shades of orange and gold. "Yusuf," Ahmad said quietly, "I learned something from you." "From me, sir?" Yusuf was surprised. "Yes. I thought wisdom came from degrees and universities and expensive experts. I thought knowledge could be bought." Ahmad looked at the boy. "But you taught me that the greatest wisdom sometimes lives in the smallest people. That kindness is worth more than kingdoms. That a generous heart is the truest wealth." He paused, watching the waves. 20 doctors with all their machines and degrees couldn't save Layla. But you, a homeless child with nothing but your grandmother's love and ancient plant knowledge, you did the impossible. Yusuf thought about his grandmother. How she used to sit with him under the stars in Syria, teaching him about each plant, each root, each leaf. How she would say, "Yusuf, when you help someone, you become rich in ways money cannot measure." "My grandmother used to tell me," Yusuf said softly, "that we are put on this earth to help each other. Rich or poor, it does not matter. What matters is kindness. What matters is using whatever gifts we have, even small ones, to make someone's pain less." Ahmad felt tears in his eyes again. "She raised a wise soul. She raised me to care, sir. That is all." And in that moment, Ahmad understood the greatest truth of all. Real wealth isn't counted in bank accounts or buildings or cars. Real wealth is measured in the lives we touch, the kindness we give, the compassion we show. A street child with empty pockets had given him the richest gift of all, his daughter's life. And in return, Ahmad gave Yusuf something equally precious: a future full of hope, a chance to multiply his kindness across thousands of lives. Years later, Dr. Yusuf al-Rashid would open free medical clinics across the Middle East, blending modern medicine with traditional healing wisdom. He would save countless lives. He would train other doctors to see patients as whole people, not just symptoms. And he would never, ever forget the lesson his grandmother taught him under Syrian stars. The greatest cure in the world is not found in laboratories or hospitals. It is found in a kind heart willing to help. If this story touched your heart, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now. Click the bell so you never miss stories like this. Smash that like button and drop a comment below. What act of kindness will you do today? Who in your life needs your help right now? Share this story with someone who needs to remember that we all have gifts to give, no matter how small we think we are. That kindness changes everything. that sometimes the teacher appears in the most unexpected form. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story. And remember, you never know when your small act of kindness might save someone's world. God bless you all. Until next time, Red Heart.